Imagine a Russian warship cruising down the English Channel, bristling with Calibre cruise missiles, watched politely but impotently by an ageing British frigate with no anti-ship capability. This isn't a Cold War fiction. This is happening now. This isn't the dead horses. It's now. It's real. And if you want to understand the fire that engulfed the North Hyde electrical substation near Heathrow last week, the truth may lie not only in forensic residue, but in the wider atmosphere of strategic intimidation. We have to be careful, cautious. The Metropolitan Police have stated there's currently no suspicion of sabotage, but that's precisely the danger. In the grey zone of hybrid warfare, nothing needs to be proven for the threat to be real, and if this was a probe by a hostile power, it would not have been flamboyant, it would have been deniable, indirect, engineered via proxies, gangsters, useful idiots. Indeed, we have been here before. In 2018, Britain awoke to the grim reality of Salisbury, where Novichok nerve agent was used by GRU operatives to poison Sergei Skripal and his daughter, and the fingerprints were clearly Russian. The response, though defiant, exposed our dependencies and our hesitation. What connects Salisbury and the Channel and Heathrow is not only Russia's capability, but our vulnerability, and we are a target. We are rich with vulnerability. We're an environment for a Kremlin that thrives on ambiguity, daring the West to respond to acts that fall just below the threshold of a declaration of war. This is hybrid warfare, and it's warfare nevertheless. Now consider our naval posture. When ships enter the Channel, it's the responsibility of the Royal Navy to demonstrate both presence and preparation, a key part of deterrence, to escort these warships with a Royal Fleet auxiliary or a mine hunter equipped with a 30mm cannon and a top speed more appropriate to a riverboat cruise. That's not deterrence, that's window dressing. The fact that HMS Iron Duke, activated 13 times in the last 12 months, has no anti-ship missile is frankly shameful. The Harpoon missile, however aging, was scrapped before a viable replacement was in place. The much-needed Norwegian naval strike missile is being procured, yes, but at a snail's pace. And defence on a budget has become defence by omission. And the optics matter. When your deterrent appears hollow, your deterrence fails. The Russians know it, they film it, they broadcast it. The same warship they sail past Portsmouth might, with a slight turn of the rudder, launch missiles capable of hitting John O'Groats or London, while our patrol vessel watches and records. This isn't a war of arms, it's a war of appearances. And this isn't about sabre-rattling, it's about readiness, the sober, necessary act of demonstrating strength so that we don't have to use it. We're not calling for blame, but for better safeguards. We must counter our dependency culture. Our habit of assuming peace is permanent. Resilience. Resilience is an optional extra. It's not. Peace is not a permanent status, and resilience should be. There are solutions. Short-term, accelerate missile integration on frigates, arm RFAs and non-combatants properly. Long-term, build more Type 31 frigates and experiment with lightly crewed or uncrewed corvettes for coastal protection and deterrence patrols. Relying on ancient ships and dwindling crews is a guarantee of overstretch, not safety. And as we look back on the substation fire, which halted 1,351 flights and disrupted Heathrow and continues to disrupt Heathrow, the world's busiest airport, we must consider not only what happened, but what could have happened. What if it had been an act of sabotage? What if it had led to casualties? Would NATO invoke Article 5 for an infrastructure attack carried out in the shadows? The answer is politically toxic either way. A yes risks escalation, a no gives Putin carte blanche to carry on. Hybrid attacks are designed precisely to cause paralysis and confusion. The solution lies in deterrence, not retaliation after the fact, not an investigation. In 2021, NATO reaffirmed that attacks on infrastructure can be acts of war, but unless consequences are clearly laid out, the ambiguity becomes its own liability. The West needs a playbook. Triggering Article 5 doesn't mean we need airstrikes over Moscow, but it must mean something. Targeted sanctions, asset seizures, oil boycotts. If we don't write the rules, our enemies will. Britain must push for that NATO clarity. We must invest in the tools of deterrence for better ships, better missiles, better doctrine, clearer doctrine, stronger cyber-defensism, and above all, we must abandon the illusion that the world will respect our boundaries if we don't enforce them. The world will respect our boundaries if they are clear. We don't want a war, but peace requires posture, power, seen, felt. That's what stops the fight before it starts. And in the modern theatre of hybrid threats, readiness is the only answer to ambiguity.